And we're going to review fractions. Here are a couple of things that you're going to need to do. We're going to look for items in your house. You're going to look for envelopes. You always get junk mail that comes to your house, so look for an envelope. Make sure that it's cut nice and cleanly at the top. And you can use the back side where it's just plain white so that when you make your folds, you'll be able to see things. You'll also want to look and see if you can find some tablet paper or copy paper, something like that that's rectangular. Make sure that you don't find something that's got a torn edge on it. Something that's not nice and straight and cut will not work. So make sure you've got nice, clean, straight edges. Also, see if you can ask mom or dad whether they will let you use a couple of coffee filters. If not, they need their coffee, don't take it away from them. But if you can get some coffee filters, that would be great. Make sure that you ask permission to use all these things. Now, I'm going to ask you to pause your video, go look for these things, get them together in a place that you can fold, and then come back. Okay, we're going to move on. Here we go. We're going to review fractions. So, fractions are equal parts of a whole. The top number in a fraction is the numerator. The numerator tells us the amount of shaded parts that you have. In this case, it's 1. The bottom number is the denominator. In this case, it's a 2. And that is the number of equal parts that make up the whole. In this case, it is 2. I'm going to give you a couple examples of this. Here we go. Here we have a fraction. The numerator is a 1, and the denominator is a 2. This fraction is called 1/2. Here are the words 1/2. Okay, that means 1 part shaded out of 2 parts total that make up the whole. Our bottom number here is a fraction also. The numerator is a 1, and the denominator is a 4. We say that fraction 1/4. It means that 1 part is shaded out of 4 parts that are equal, that make up the whole. Here we go. We're going to make some folds. I'm going to start with an envelope. And I've got lots of these, so I folded them up and I got them all ready for you. We're going to make one hot dog fold. Okay? Now, here's what it looks like. When we fold it exactly in half, and you notice I folded it so that the edges line up. Make sure you do that or else they won't be equal sized. Here we have one shaded in green. I put a line down the middle so you can see where my fold is. It is 1 part shaded out of 2 parts whole. This fraction is 1/2. Do you think we can fold it in another way to show a fraction of 1/2? Let's try. Here's another envelope, and I'm going to fold this hamburger style. Here we go, 1 time, and here's what we have. We have 1 part shaded out of 2 parts whole. This is also 1/2. Each of the parts are equal size. This is the fraction 1/2. Now I have a crazy one to show you. I'm going to fold from this corner to this corner. Here we go. It doesn't look like the edges match up. This is a hard one to do, but I wanted to show you something that's a little different. And let's see if it ends up being a fraction. Here we go. I drew the line and I shaded it in. We have 2 parts of the whole. 1, 2. They kind of, I don't know, do they look like they're the same? Let's see. I have 1 part shaded out of the 2 parts whole. It's a little hard to tell, but here's what I'm going to do. I made some cuts on an envelope just like this so that you can see what we've got. So here is the envelope, and I cut it down the diagonal line from corner to corner. So here's what we had. Let me get it in the right place. Here we go. And do these parts look like they overlap? Well, kind of not, but watch what I do. If I take this part and I spin it, and I lay it on top of the shaded part, guess what? It takes up exactly the same amount of space. I spun it, and it is exactly the same. So yes, this is 1/2 shaded brown, even though it's cut on a diagonal line. Let's try breaking it up into different fractions. Here we have an envelope. I'm going to ask you to hamburger fold, and then you can hamburger fold again. Let's see what we get. With 2 folds, I now created 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. my fraction is shaded in red, and it is 1 shaded out of 4 equal parts that make up the whole. The fraction is 1/4. Can we fold it again and come up with a new shape and still have equal parts? Let's try. Here's another envelope. I'm going to ask you to fold it hamburger style, and we're going to fold it hamburger style again. Do we come up with a fraction? Let's see. I drew lines again on our folds. We have how many parts that make up the whole? 1, 2, 3, 4. I shaded 1 in orange. These all look exactly the same size, don't they? So we have a fraction 1/4. Can we fold it again? Another envelope and come up with equal parts? Let's try. Here we go. Hot dog fold. Let's do another hot dog fold. I got a nice thin folded piece of paper. Let's take it back apart. Notice my edges line up. My edges line up. We'll take it back apart. And here we have 4 equal parts that make up the whole. 1, 2, 3, 4. I shaded 1 in blue. And this is a fraction 1/4. So this 1/4 is actually the same as this 1/4, which is the same as this 1/4. They're all equal parts, 4 equal parts that make up the whole. Let's now move to coffee filters. So this is a coffee filter. It looks like it's going to be hard to fold. Let me just give you a quick way to learn how to make this flatten out. So just take it and put it on your counter or flat surface and just rub it over the edge. Spin it, rub it, spin it, rub it, spin it, rub it. And now you have pretty much flat, round piece of paper. That's easy. Now, I can take that and I can fold it like a taco. I'll fold it over so that the edges on the round side match. When I do that and I fold it once, here is what I get. Folded once, I drew a line on it. I shaded one side in purple, the other side is not. We have 2 equal parts, 1, 2, and the fraction is 1/2. 1 part of 2 equal parts that make up the whole. Now, if I shade both parts, and I've made 2 equal parts, what is the fraction that I have? I have 2 halves. So if I only had 1, it would be 1/2. If I shaded both parts of the 2, then it's 2 halves. 2 halves is the same thing as a whole. Okay? Now, let's go on and let's fold up our round coffee filter, and then we're going to fold it in half again, like a taco, if we would fold a taco twice. And then if we pull it back apart, we now have 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can think of it as a pie or a cake, it doesn't matter. Anything that's round. I shaded 1 green, so we have 1/4. That means 1 part shaded out of 4 parts total to make up the whole. Okay? Now, if I shade more, folded this up, folded it, and I decided I wanted to shade more parts of the 4 parts that make up the whole. In this case, I shaded 1, 2, 3 parts out of 4 parts total that make up the whole. So I wrote the fractions in. If I shaded the 2, it would be 2/4. Since I shaded 3, I wrote the fraction 3/4. Okay? So again, fractions. Now, let's move to copy paper. I took my copy paper and I folded it hamburger style. And if I open it up, this is a lot easier to see because it's bigger. We have 1 part shaded out of 2 parts total that make up the whole. Our fraction is 1/2. Okay? Can we fold it again and come up with 1/2 in a different shape? Yes, we can. If I fold it hot dog shape, make sure again that the edges match across the edge. If they don't, it won't be equal. Now I have 2 equal parts, 1, 2, and I have 1 part shaded in orange, so I have the fraction 1/2. Okay, let's move to new fraction making up more parts. I take this one and I fold it hamburger again, like we did with the envelope. when I unfold it, I have 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. My fraction here, I have 1 shaded out of 4 parts total that make up the whole. My fraction is called 1/4. Can we fold it again to come up with a different size shape that are equal parts? Let's try. Here we go. I'm going to take this and I'm going to hamburger fold, and I'm going to hamburger fold again. And let's open it up. And here we've got it shaded in red. I've got 1 part out of 1, 2, 3, 4 parts total that make up the whole. They are all exactly the same size and shape. I shaded 1 in red, and we have the fraction 1/4. 1 part shaded out of 4 parts that make up the whole. Let's try it again. Another piece of paper. I'm going to hot dog fold, make sure my edges line up. Hot dog fold again, make sure my edges line up. Let's see what we get. 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 part is shaded yellow. This fraction is called 1/4. This 1/4 is the same as this 1/4, and that is the same as this 1/4. The only difference is some are longer and some are fatter, but that's just a different way to fold it, but we still have 4 equal parts. Okay, now I'm going to have this paper and I'm going to fold it, and let's see how I do. Okay, I've got how many parts here? 1, 2 parts that make up the whole. I have this part that's shaded in red, and I have this part that's white. Are they equal in size? What do you think? I don't think so. Notice my edges don't match. These two sizes are different. They are not the same. Is this a fraction? No, so I'm going to write on here, not a fraction. This is not a fraction because we do not have equal parts. Now, let's try another paper, and we have this, and I folded it. I just tried folding some corners together. And then I tried folding some other corners together. And let's see what I got. So I have how many parts of the whole? 1, 2, 3, 4. Are those parts the same size? What do you think? I don't think so. If you look here, I've got 2 triangles, one top and bottom, but I've got home plates over here. So you can see that these are not exactly the same. They don't take up the same amount of space. They're not the same size, not the same shape. So is this a fraction? No. So I'm going to write on here also, not a fraction. Okay, so I gave you some examples of the right way to make fractions by folding, and I gave you some examples of the wrong way to make that they're not fractions at all. So what you're going to do is, you've got an assignment for me and for your teachers. You're going to post this on Class Dojo. You got one of 2 choices. Either you can take a picture of your folded paper that shows the fraction, okay? Or you can make a video of you folding your paper. What you're going to do is, number 1, you're going to write down the definition of a fraction. Okay, remember that fractions are equal parts of a whole. So you might have to rewind so that you can get this, but you got to write this down for me. And the second part is, you're going to fold your own paper. If you use an envelope, or if you use a piece of paper like a copy paper or a coffee filter, anything that you can find in the home that's either in the shape of a rectangle, a square, or a circle, and you're going to choose your own fraction. I gave you a lot of different fractions here, but you're going to choose your own. So maybe you'll choose 1/4, maybe you'll choose 1/2,